fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Tonight I'm going to have a special guest, Mr. James Brennan. Now, he's running for president of the Rural Carrier Craft, and it's getting crunch time for them. He's got 2 weeks, and then their election is not this Friday, but next Friday. And so I've got him on tonight. You're really going to like this guy. And if you're a city letter carrier, you're working in an office with rural carriers, tell them to tell their people James Brennan. They're in the same boat we are. When you listen to him and I talk, it's eerie how similar we are as far as the failures of our union. With the TA, the work environment, everything. And it's eerie how similar we are. And so I'm going to have him on tonight. And then tomorrow, do not miss tomorrow's episode. It's going to be long, but I'm going to cover a lot of shit. And I'm going to be a salty motherfucker on some of it, all right? Some of the stuff that's been put up online, we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to be a salty motherfucker, like I said, tomorrow. It's going to be a long one. And then we'll be in Cincinnati later this week. I'm going to be in Seymour, Indiana. I will not have a Lions Den episode. May try to do on Friday. But I'll be out of town Tuesday through Friday, coming back Friday. May try to do a Lions Den episode because I don't want to miss out on those. We're dealing with Pet and Doris. If y'all been listening to those, we've been beating that to death. But I always say, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to be good at what you do or whether you're going to be great at what you do. That's completely up to you. And so I'm going to keep talking about Pet and Doris on Lions Den because that is the thing that management is using against us now. We talk about our office time, beat that to death. Talking about stationary events, beat that to death. Talking about hip training, beat that to death. So it's Pet and Doris. You heard these buffoons talking on this teleconference about expectations and all these things based off of Pet and Doris and performance and all that. And so we are getting ourselves prepared on the Lions Den for that stuff. And tomorrow, like I said, it's going to be a long episode tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Darren Nall's Article 10 charges, the findings of those charges that he filed against National for the constitutional thing that they did with those other charges where they just had this little private meeting and dismissed them. And so we got the investigators' reports on those. We're going to be reading that. We're going to be talking about some other things. Going to be covering some discipline that I said I was going to cover and a lot of stuff. Going to be a lot of stuff tomorrow, long episode, and some of it might be a little salty. Don't forget Mallory. All right? Do not forget Mallory. Here's a young lady that does everything for the City Letter Carrier Craft. Anything you get on from 8arbitration.com, she puts it up. Any Zoom meeting, she's on there. CCA Corner, she does that. She puts up all these things on everything just to help you. She does it free of charge. Free of charge. And so get on from 8arbitration.com, show her some love. Whatever you got, whatever kind of change you got in your pocket, give it to her. All right? Let her know that you appreciate her and you love her for what she's done. Because, trust me, she doesn't have to do anything. She could just be chilling at the crib. And she doesn't. She spends a lot of her time after she gets off from work doing these episodes, putting things up, sites up so that y'all can copy them and put them in your files. And so I could not do what I do without her. And so please, if you're ever going to do me a favor, do that. Go on to from8arbitration.com and show Mallory some love, okay? Also, Badmouth Morris, in a hard way. Here's another person. He's homeless, lives in a tent. A city letter carrier now, a union job, living in a tent. And what does he do? He's on every Zoom meeting. He's on CCA Corner trying to help CCAs out as best he can. He's in the BFN trying to help with that movement. He's at the state convention having meetings on that. And dude lives in a tent. We should be ashamed. We should be ashamed. But he's got a GoFundMe. He's got a GoFundMe. go show my man some love. All right? Let's represent. Show my man some love. It's hard times for the city letter carrier right now, man. It's hard damn times. And we have a complacent union leadership that doesn't give a shit. And I'll save all that for tomorrow. CLC, Concerned Letter Carriers. Now look, a lot of people on social media from different factions that are against us, and we get it. CLC is nonprofit. All right. If you want to know anything about the finances of the CLC, go on concernedlettercarriers.com and it'll show you everything. We're nonprofit. So every penny we've ever received, you'll see it. Every penny we've ever spent, you'll see it. You want the tax returns? Reach out to them. We understand what it is. It's motherfuckers running against us that are trying to drag us down through there, but we're nonprofit, so you can't do that. Nobody else is. Go ask other people for their tax returns. Go ask other people for their money, where their money's going. They can't tell you. We're nonprofit by design. So every penny we've ever collected, you can see it. All right? Every penny we've ever spent, you can see it. James Henry goes to these functions on his own dime and on his own time, uses his leave, on his money, unless he's sent by the union, and then he can't talk about the CLC. He has to represent the union. When he goes on his own dime, talks about the CLC. Me, I go on my own dime and my annual leave. All right? So let's just make sure we clear things up, because you got some knuckleheads out there running against us trying to start that shit. And so other people from other places, they fly for free because their kids work at the airport. And so, but they're worried about our expenses. So go to concernedlettercarriers.com. You can see every penny we've ever made and every penny we've ever spent. All right? Because I know some of y'all can't sleep at night wondering about it. I had a guy the other day on social media. It's like, you travel a lot of places. Who's paying for that? And how are you taking this leave? Hell, I thought I was talking to the postal inspectors. So, yeah, I'm using my annual leave. It's a benefit of mine. If you look in Section 5 of the ELM, it talks about how to take leave, especially annual leave. And that's what I do. And I use my own money. And so that's what happens. And so, yeah, we spend a lot, but it'll be worth it. Because we're going to take over this motherfucker next year. That's a foregone conclusion. One of the things that we were talking about, me and James Brennan, was the movement by the city letter carriers that's going on right now. They are envious of it. Every organization is envious of it. I've had several organizations ask me about it. And so it's something that has never been seen before. This movement amongst our craft, where the rank and file has taken over the momentum and the storyline. And so that's what's happened. The rank and file has taken over the storyline of the union. We are coming. I keep telling everybody that. We are coming. I'm talking about the city letter carrier. We are coming. And so they didn't see us coming in the TA. I don't think that they quite know what's fixing to happen next year in this vote, but I believe it will be as overwhelming as anything you've ever seen. And because the city letter carriers have had enough. And I'm going to save all this tomorrow. I've got a lot of shit to talk about tomorrow, and that's what I'm going to do. But take care of Mallory. Take care of Mallory for me, and take care of Badmouth. Two very special people to me. Y'all listen to James Brennan. Me and him have a very good talk about their union and our union. I think you're going to enjoy it. He's a bright dude, and I hope that he wins. His union doesn't quite, or the rural carriers don't quite have the movement yet, and that's what we're trying to do, is get them involved in this uprising like the city letter carriers have got going on. Because like I tell him, I would love to have an ally with the rural carrier union, somebody that we can work arm in arm, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder when we're attacking these workroom floors on this toxic working environment. And he's in agreement. Those are things that are numero uno when we take over. And so I would love to have the rural carriers right there with us when we take on this fight. The city letter carriers, when the CLC takes over, we're in the fight. That's what I keep telling my people. Get ready. Get ready. If there's one thing you can do for the CLC before we take over is educate yourself and get ready, because when we hit the floor, we're going to hit the floor running. And we're getting into these working floors. Get yourself ready, all right? So here's Mr. James Brennan. I think you're really going to like it. And we have a very good conversation. And then tomorrow, don't miss it. Don't miss it. We're going to have a long episode. Going to be a little salty at times, but just how it fucking is. All right. I love you, Light Blue. I love you. Y'all have a safe day tomorrow, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow night. All right. Bye. All right. I got the man, Mr. James Brennan, and he's running for president of the Rural Carriers Union. And he's been on several times. Y'all have heard him talking several times about his passion for the rural carriers. Kind of parallels where we are right now with the city letter carrier. And we've been talking earlier about the movement that this is going on right now with the city letter carrier craft, trying to get that going with the rural carriers. And I know that when I was on y'all's podcast, we were talking about that, James, that y'all have got to stand up. Y'all are in the same boat as we are. Weak leadership uh, has been divisive as far as the national level. You know, we've got a president who's run off just about everybody at the national level. And y'all are kind of dealing with the same thing. And so here comes James Brennan saying, hey, look, I'm qualified. I want to do this. I want to protect my people because we're getting run over by both parties right now, the Postal Service and my union. And so, James, y'all got an election, not this Friday, but next. And you're up. And so, man, it's going to be only you tonight. I'm going to give you the full show, brother. And I'm going to do mine tomorrow. But it's that important. I want you to have the limelight tonight, my man. You can say whatever you want to say. I know that we have several rural carriers that listen to From 8 Arbitration, and city carriers obviously listen. They can go tell the rural carriers, hey, y'all need to step up. You know, a lot of city carriers work with rural carriers in the same office, and they need to go over there and tell them, hey, James Brennan's the man that needs to turn this thing around for y'all. Y'all got to stand up eventually and take over this thing. So, my man, it's all yours, James. You tell people what you want them to hear and what's going to happen with the James Brennan when he takes over as president, and I'll chime in if I need to. All right, brother?
Appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I appreciate you giving me your platform to present this stuff to everybody. You know, we're in the same boat here, both city and rural, on the fact that we cannot sustain where we are headed. It is impossible to continue down the path we've been going. We have carriers out there who are repeating the exact same things carriers were talking about in the 60s. Hostile and toxic work environments, low wages, unions that aren't responding to the carriers, aren't listening to the carriers, to the point they're actually standing up against their own leadership. We have a chance here to prevent that uprising in a way to protect the crafts. Because right now, we don't have the same protections we did back then, where we controlled most of the information flow. We have to do something for our crafts for the first time on our own without resorting to significant risks. Now, I love the rural letter carriers. I care about our craft. I care about the people on the street. I talk to them every single day. They deserve a union that fights for them, doesn't roll over and allow management to take 8 to 10 months since the contract was signed to pay them the back pay. You guys are getting yours soon, I believe, right, Corey? August?
It's supposed to be towards the end of this month.
Yeah. And ours isn't going to be until February at the earliest. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way.
I remember,
It's
James, you talking about that. I think you and I have talked about this before, that my parents both are retired rural carriers, and my dad pleaded with the rural carrier union back in the day to join forces with the NELC because y'all just were not doing anything. And now here we are. We're the ones that are, we're probably the weakest union going right now with our leadership. It's just it's so odd hearing you talk, James, about your leadership. It's almost like they're looking in the mirror. Your leadership and our leadership. When you talk about the '60s, the working conditions, the wages, it's everywhere I go. I talk about that. And I talk to individuals wherever we're at. If it's a union meeting or a town hall or whatever, I talk about the similarities to where we came from and where we are now. That it's almost identical. I've got people, James, that are living in cars, living in tents,
you too, huh?
yeah, on government assistance on WIC, and you talk about the '60s. We had the strike in the '70s. That was why we did it, and
Yeah.
here we are, the exact same spot, and y'all are the same. So when you talk about that, it's misery loves company, I guess, because we're in the same damn boat.
Well, there's a reason I bring that up too. Because right after that happened, what did the unions do? They elected carriers from the street to lead the organization.
Yeah,
People who didn't work their way up the chain were elected to lead the union because they were more understanding of the plight of the craft than anybody that's gone up the chain. Because anybody that's gone up the chain has spent so much time away from handling mail and doing the job that they've forgotten what it's like. Some saying that we've had it too good for too long.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm
I
sorry.
look at my president, James, now, and I've always said that he was born on third and thinks he hit a triple, because everything he's gotten has been handed to him. Uh, we've got another running for president who thinks that he deserves that position. And then you have James Henry. He's a legend as far as the union and things that he's done for the union. So we got two narcissists and James Henry, running for president. But I don't understand that mentality of, hey, I deserve that. I've been doing this so long, I deserve that position. When you talk about, we went out and got city letter carriers to do that. I deliver today. I'm still deliver mail, and so yeah, I agree with that. That it takes those people that have not forgotten where they came from, and unfortunately, when you get that fat cap position, James, you forget where you came from. You start making that fat ass salary, and us down here that's doing the work kind of become peasants and paupers, and you kind of look down on us. And you can see that with both of our presidents. You know what I'm saying?
Especially with the wages we make.
Yeah.
And that's the key. We have gotten away from people who want to understand the carrier plight and fight for the carrier plight. Instead, doing what they can to make things easier for themselves, whether it be capitulating to 1.3, 1.3, 1.3, which was
Yeah.
resoundingly rejected by you guys, to
Yeah.
come back with 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, because that
Yeah.
was the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
And then the easiest way to do it for everybody else was to just agree to what everybody else got, working on pattern bargaining. And I'm sorry, Corey. Rural delivery is enough different from city delivery that our contracts are different.
Yeah.
We may do the same task, which is take mail from the office and deliver it to customers, but our contracts are so different. I mean, you guys don't have to provide a personal vehicle to deliver with. Most rural carriers do.
Yeah.
But you guys have uniforms. We don't. And we are a post office on wheels. We are required to take packages with money provide postage. Same with letters, provide postage, sell stamps on the route, things
Yeah.
like that. You
So y'all
guys,
still do that? Y'all still sell stamps on the route?
yes, we do. I
Yeah, I
actually just
deliver.
sold one last week.
I was a rural carrier back in the late '80s out of Franklin Post Office. I delivered with my dad. That's where he was at. And I remember my postmaster still to this day. His name was Alec Bond. And I had the little shoebox, not shoebox, but it was what you took into what school kids took into
A
little school
lunchbox,
box thing. Yeah,
a
and it
lunchbox.
had a stamp stock in there with some
Yep.
change. You had to sign out for that stamp stock every day. And so y'all still do that.
So most offices have gotten away from the stamp stock system, but
Yeah,
many carriers who know their routes carry enough stamp stock for their routes. They
I
buy
got you.
it
I got you.
themselves, and then the customers basically reimburse the carrier, and then the carrier in turn uses that to replenish their stamp stock on their own.
Yeah, because I remember taking out books of stamps, and people would come up and say, "Hey, I need, 10 stamps," and you'd sell them right there. Get it
Yep,
out of your little school box. That's
still
crazy.
we still
They'd
do
be
that.
robbing the shit out of them. They'd be robbing the shit out of city letter carriers if we did that, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing. There's so many ways that we could protect carriers from things like that since you bring that up, and yet they're not willing to provide that because safety's on us, not on management.
Yeah,
You
they've been
know,
talking about it plenty. All I hear is people talking. Every time our president gets up, he talks about it, and we're
yeah,
still getting robbed and killed. And so,
talking does
yeah,
talking does
yes,
nothing.
no,
Action
it
makes
ain't never
differences.
stopped a robbery. But
Yeah,
yeah, so when James Brennan gets in there, and I hope and pray that you do, because y'all need strong leadership as much as we do. We've got disastrously cowardly leadership right now, and it's showing on the workroom floor. It's showing they understand management's not as stupid as they are. They're not stupid individuals, and they know that it's easy pickings on us. Matter of fact, tomorrow's episode, I'm going to be real damn salty if you listen to it. And so, talking a little bit about what's going on with the city letter care craft, how we are getting trounced right now, and a union that is nowhere to be found. And so, James Brennan's going to be president. What can we look for as a rural carrier? What can we look for from a James Brennan presidency? I think we did this before, but it's getting crunch time. I want you to tell your people.
the biggest thing that I have a problem with is that very thing you just talked about, management. And I'm not saying all management is bad. There
Right.
are good managers out there that actually try to make a difference, no matter what the boss above them says.
Hmm.
But the hostile and toxic work environment is
Hmm.
my number one issue
Yeah.
because as they've so quoted, people don't leave jobs, they leave bad management.
Yeah.
Fixing the bad management is the start. I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking with the Postmaster General about how to make the post office more financially efficient while bolstering the rural craft. Because people used to line up out the door for both the rural and the city craft. They
Oh
used to
yeah.
want to work here
Yeah.
all the way back, all the way back into the early 90s. They were lining up out the door.
Yeah.
Back when our president started back in the 90s, they were lining up out the door.
Yeah.
But but between then and now, Table One rural carriers will take the very first step of the original wage back in 1990 and compare it to the step A now, starting step of the Table One now, and that is an increase of 158%. The pay that they start out at a 40-hour route, 158% inflation between 1990 and before this contract was signed. 158%.
Hmm.
Table two, between that first starting wage in 1990 to step one, table two today, 40-hour route, 118%. Between 1990 and today, the cost of living adjustment, 256%. Wages have not kept up with inflation. We need to find a way to adjust that.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about this contract signing. Our president's biggest tout on this contract signing is we didn't give anything up. We got 8 changes to our contract and we didn't have to give anything up. What happened to the 400 resolutions we passed at National Convention? Where did
Mm.
all those go?
Yeah.
Where did all the discussions for that go? And if you're only doing 8 changes, why did it take you so long to negotiate this contract? Unless you were waiting for the city carriers to get done with theirs for the pattern
I think that
bargaining.
I think that's what happened. We were all talking about that. I think that's what happened is that y'all kind of just hanging low and seeing what the city letter carriers did. And he's like, hey, we'll take that. And so, we're over here raising hell, shooting ours down. Of course, our president went, in the dark of night and forced that thing through on us on a stipulated award. But
Yeah.
we were talking about on break, my carriers are quite engaged. So on break, we had some very colorful conversations. And we were saying, watch the rural carriers. They've been sitting waiting. And sure enough, it came out with y'all. I was like, damn, they just copied, pasted ours.
Hmm. There are some quote unquote benefits of this. It's going to take me 6 months less to get this to step 15 on table two, six
Yeah.
months out of a 15-year period, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
RCAs that have been on the rolls working for over 3 years got $1 extra. Yeah, let me get you $1.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that
back
was our substantial starting wage was $1. Our president kept telling people we're going to have a substantial starting wage, less than $1.
Ours used that substantial word as well. And said that 50 cents for the 50-cent raise for an RCA wasn't enough. I guess 5 cents more was.
It's unbelievable. You were talking earlier about people lined out the door to work here. What year did you start?
2017.
2017. When I started, they used to have the test, and you'd have to go take a test to
Yep.
to get hired, and you're put on the register. And you would go take a test, and guys in my break room were talking about this as well. That started way back when, and you would have 500 people in a gymnasium or in a cafeteria taking this test just to try to get onto the postal service. That's how hot of a ticket that was. And
Hmm.
now you just walk in the door, may not want the job, may not care about the job, work here a week, this ain't for me, leave. And so it has changed, brother. It has changed.
Yeah, I had to go down to Ypsilanti Airport to do my testing back in 2017. So they were still testing back then. Then I
Yeah.
had to drive to Detroit to the district headquarters here in Detroit, get my fingerprints done and my drug test done. They don't
Yeah.
even drug test anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we have gone so far down of the inability to hire that we are removing requirements to get people in the door, and it's still not helping.
Well, you don't pay them anything. You don't pay them a living wage. Well, we don't get hardly a living wage topped out, but you don't pay them a living wage. They make what fast food workers make. They have no protection. They get treated like shit. They finally came up with this NERC program on our side, trying to keep CCAs hired.
Hmm.
But you have the worst management in the world that treat my CCAs like hell. You don't pay them. They have no protection. And so, you're like, come to work for the post office, man. It's a great job. And so it's not a good selling point. And so I'm with you. You do have to have that substantial starting increase if you ever want to tackle staffing.
Yeah.
You
And
got to pay your people. It's ridiculous. And you got what, 6-1 management craft now, or it used to be, what was it, 16, 17-1 management craft?
I think it
So
was back in the 90s, it was 20 to 1.
20-1.
Hmm. And now
And
we're
it's,
down to 6 or 5 to 1.
yeah, it's like any federal government job. You got all this fat. We don't address it. I've been calling for it. Address the fat. Start there, and then let's see where we're at. But you got way too many management. If I go, James has already said, as soon as we go to arbitration, we're going to arbitration. There won't be this 300-day bullshit, 700 days bullshit. As soon as our time is up and mediation's over, going to arbitration. And so
Yep.
that's my thing. Get you some good attorneys, get in those books, tell the arbitrator, look, this is why we deserve more. And you got to let it play out in arbitration. Management's never going to come to the table and say, look, we do appreciate what y'all do. We understand that we've been paying y'all way too low all these years. Y'all
Oh,
deserve so much more. I
they'll
hate
give
to
us
tell the
they'll
so
give
go
us
go ahead.
they'll give us the lip service on the PMG's announcements.
Yeah, oh yeah, how important we are.
Yeah.
But I hate to tell the two presidents, your president and mine, mine, when he came out of the negotiations, he's like, hell, they're broke. That's what he said. We're just not going to be able to get any more. They're broke. Do you know
Well,
that every union in the world hears that same thing from the employer? We're
yep.
broke.
And I'm looking at that going, okay, fine. Show me the books.
Show me the damn books.
Yeah,
Show me where you're broke.
show me where the money's gone.
Yeah,
The $8 million you spent to send management to Oklahoma University to study business management.
yeah.
That's a
Well,
big waste.
when the postmaster general, when he exited, he told you where it was going. He snitched on everybody.
Yeah.
He started saying, "Hey, y'all don't blame me. Look at this right here, and look at that. Look at that." If I'm the union, I'm scrapping that up and saying, "Hey, let's look at that.
Yeah.
Let's look."
Mr.
Y'all are saying that
Arbitrator,
we're
let's
only
look
going
at
to get,
that.
yeah, we're only going to get 1.3%. You got the main man right here telling you where all these billions are going. Let's take a peek
Yeah.
at those books. We don't do it. I don't know why. I don't know why, but every employer in the world that has a union tells them they're broke. Some buy it, and some say, "To hell with you." Now they go on
Hmm.
strike, and so they all of a sudden they find money when they go on strike. They're like, maybe not as broke as we thought we were, but they know that we can't strike. They'll tell our people that we're broke. Our people bought it and sold it to us. It's just we didn't buy it; we shot it down. But yeah, I mean, you're always going to hear the employer saying you're broke when it deals with the union. Just both of our presidents bought that shit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I was just reading an article earlier from Ford CEO Jim Farley saying that the younger generation doesn't want to work for Ford for $17 an hour.
Yeah,
Like, we are at the point where our current upcoming generations are saying it is too stressful for me to come in and work one job getting paid 17, 20, $22 an hour and having to work a second job just to make ends meet barely.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's not what a union job is for.
they're not even looking at these jobs anymore because they just
Yeah,
don't want to deal with the stress of it.
yeah. When you talk about union jobs, James, I mean that's what you do. When I first started, way back when, I remember we had a party at O'Charlie's. My mom went and bought a cake with a Jeep on it, a postal Jeep, because we still had Jeeps back then, but with a postal Jeep on it. It was high times at the Walton House because I got, on at the post office. And, back then in the late 80s, early 90s, I think you're making like 19 an hour. Talking about, man, that's good money. Hell, they're still making it. It's 2025.
Yeah. And you're talking inflation on top of that, and the dollar just doesn't go as far as it used to.
Yeah.
I remember when my sister went to college, we'd go into Walmart and fill up her dorm room. We'd go out of Walmart with three shopping carts for $100. Now you go to Walmart for $100, you have three things in your cart.
Yeah. No, you're
You
right.
know,
You're right. That dollar doesn't go near as far. I love James Henry. He talks about negotiations and stuff like that. He says, here's the thing. What is your worth? What is the city letter carrier worth? That's what you go in there with. It's not this buying a car thing like they try to sell us on last time. It's like buying a car. You tell them what you want, and they tell you what they want, and then we just kind of go from here and there and that. No, when you go in there, say, this is what my craft is worth. This is what we do every day, and this is what we're worth. Can we meet that price? No. We're going to arbitration. We need an
yeah,
all-career workforce. We don't want CCAs any longer. That's a detriment to us, the
yeah,
CCA craft. Those employees need to come on as full-time employees. We want an all-career workforce. Can you do that? No. We're going to arbitration. We need a substantial raise. These are all the talking points of my president when he went into these last negotiations. So he was saying, it's 9% or nothing. We're not going to accept anything less than 9%. Knowing that he was lying to us, gave us 3.9, telling us it's going to be a substantial starting increase because we will keep a contingent of CCAs after he told us already that it was going to be an all-career workforce as a non-starter. So my CCAs were geeked up at work. They were excited. And then you gave them less than $1. If you tell me you're going to give me a substantial starting increase, then that's what you need to fight for. And that's where we're at. James Henry says, hey, if I tell you we're going to have a substantial starting increase and they say we're going to give you $1, we're going to arbitration. It's not that difficult.
yeah. You're talking about what they're worth. The only people that move this system and keep it bringing in revenue are the carriers, rural
Yes,
and city. Yes,
yes,
mail handlers have their place,
yep,
janitors have their place, clerks have their place. But overall, the overarching revenue stream is because of each and every city and rural carrier going to every single household in the United States. That is where the bread and butter of this industry comes in.
yeah.
I'm not I'm not putting down our brothers and sisters in the other crafts, but if
Hell,
you remove
my son's in the other craft, but I agree with
if
you 100%.
if you remove the city and rural carriers from the Postal Service stops.
Yes. Yeah, that's
That
why
is,
they always say we are the backbone of the Postal Service.
we are the value of the Postal Service.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'm with you.
And as efficiently as we get it done, too, that adds value, especially rural carriers on evaluated routes who don't want to be out there any longer than they have to because they
Yeah,
want to get off early because they want to make sure that their value for dollar that they're working is worth more. And it actually upsets me when we have somebody who says that rural carriers are working closer to their evaluations than ever before with the new rec system. That was the whole point behind the evaluated system was that we would get off early at least 60% of the time to have value for money on the work we're doing. Now we're getting under evaluated. They say we're getting 2 hours, 3 hours a week under evaluation, 2 to 3 hours a week. So that's 15 to 30 minutes a day under evaluation, where carriers used to get off 2 hours under evaluation during the slow months, like now. And then at Christmas time, yeah, we'd all be over evaluation, delivering parcels and all the Christmas cards and things like that.
yeah,
But the value for dollar has gone down, just like you guys with the hour office time, 20-minute base office time, the stuff that they're putting on you, making you walk out an hour per loop now instead of a half an hour.
yeah,
The value for dollar is going down and the pay is not going up to match it.
yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Brother, I hope and pray that you win. We need an ally with the rural carriers When you talk about the toxic working environment, James, that's one of the things that, that's James's calling card is the toxic work environment, going after that. And so, our director of education has already been tasked with that. He's already got the training ready to go. The teams have, all these emails from people wanting to be on those teams is, I would love to have the rural carriers right there with us so we can trade notes. We can trade, in this station is this person, here's what we have on them. And, somebody to work side by side with rather than this, lone wolf McQuade type stuff. I would love to have an ally with the rural carriers so that when we go in there and take over these workroom floors, we know that y'all be there with us side by side.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
The hostile and toxic management that we can grieve and grieve and grieve and nothing happens to them to the
Hmm.
point where you have to go to arbitration to get them removed.
Yeah.
I want to change that. I
Yeah.
want to turn around and fine. You don't want to fire them? Fine. They need to be removed from monitoring rural carrier activities. They should
Yeah.
have nothing to do with rural carriers. And then
Yeah.
you guys would be made aware that this person has been removed from overseeing the rural craft so you
Yeah.
guys can monitor their activities with city carriers. I'm not saying they're going to do anything with the city carriers, but you guys should be aware. It should be an
I
open
agree.
communication between the two crafts, and it should be an open communication across the nation of what's going on. Because as it happens, what happens in one office eventually translates to the rest of them.
Yeah. Because, management, upper management doesn't care about the toxic working environment. I put on a teleconference the other day. I don't know if you heard it, where this district manager was waylaying local management about not getting in our ass about things that they cannot discipline us for. Our performance based off of DOS and PET. It's just different things
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm not going to get into it, but they don't care. They love the toxic working environment because they think that an unhappy carrier is a fast carrier because they want to get out of the office. They don't want to be around toxic management. And, they want management on the street spying on us and using covert techniques because an angry carrier is a fast carrier. And so, I'm of the ilk that you get those district managers involved. You say, hey, this person is under your purview. And so we're going to make you aware of the toxic work environment they created. Here's the things we have on this individual, and we're hoping that you'll do something about it. In reality, they're not, but it will get them involved with the arbitration. When you pull them into arbitration, say, we have made you aware of these things, and what have you done? And go
Mm-hmm.
after them. Memphis was a landmark decision for us because the arbitrator, for the first time in our history, took out a district manager. And so, uh, there are ways to curb it. There are ways to get upper management interested in the city letter carrier and rural carrier craft and the toxic working environment. We can get them interested. You have to be an inconvenience to them. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be that consequence, as we say, and you have to make them aware that we're coming for y'all too.
Yep. And that's one of the things too is I've heard this before. You know, the union goes in with a grievance to labor, and labor goes, "We agree with you," and they tell operations, "Hey, stop doing this," and operations says, "Screw you, labor," and continues to do it.
Yeah, who are
You
you?
know, yeah,
Yeah,
who do you think you are to tell me what to do?
yeah,
I'm in this position. You can't tell me what to do.
and
That's
that's how it
another one.
happens. Hey, listen, I was on the National Safety Committee. This is no joke. And we had the head of ergonomics there, the head of safety for the Postal Service, the head of labor for the Postal Service were all in there. And we had a district manager here in Tennessee that was just running amok. And he was coming into stations acting a fool and telling us to do all these things that were unsafe. I grieved a lot of them. Ergonomics wise, a lot of things that they were doing were unsafe. And so I went to them and went to the head of ergonomics. They had just started. It was just put in the elm ergonomics. And I said, hey, this your time to shine, brother. We got a district manager down here doing these things. Really? Oh, really? Did you grieve it? I said, well, yeah. I said, I shouldn't have to grieve it. I'm talking to the head man right here, ergonomics. Oh, I can't tell the district manager what to do. I said, well, what good are you? I went to safety, the head of safety. She used to work at National for us. And so I went to her. I said, hey, we got a district manager down here that's putting carriers in an unsafe position. Really? Yeah. Showed them what they're doing. Well, they can't do that. Good. So what are you going to do? I can't tell the district manager what to do. So I went to head of labor. Same thing. I can't tell the district manager what to do. So I told all of them, I said, what good are you? And that was when Pat Carroll was the business agent up there at the time and came and got me, took me out. But I'm like, what good are any of y'all? You're head of safety. And you're saying you're not going to get involved because you can't tell the district manager what to do. So you're spot on, brother. When they tell labor, who are you? They're going to tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm. You know, and then so that's where discussions with the Postmaster General come in handy because they're the only person in this entire organization that literally has the ability to tell everybody what to do.
Yeah.
And they can use not only that, but their position on the Postal Board of Governors to influence that as well.
Yeah.
And that's where these discussions have to come in because it's time for a postmaster general who wants this organization to be fiscally responsible,
Yeah.
be business oriented. Well, guess what? You get rid of the toxic and hostile work environments, you're going to get rid of a lot of the expenses you have, especially in the grievance arbitration procedure, as well as
Attendance?
all the costs associated with attendance
Yeah.
and OWCP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because stress
8 hour.
related incidences is an OWCP case when you have a hostile and toxic work
Yeah.
environment.
8 hour restrictions. I've never
Yep.
seen so many 8 hour restrictions in my life. When I first started, you never heard of an 8 hour restriction. Now just about everybody's got one. It's because the carriers want to get the hell out of here. You know,
Yeah.
you've made such an environment on this workroom floor that we despise management. And that's not how it should be. Just because we're unionized doesn't mean that we need to come in and be enemies, but they are my enemy until they act different. And so, unfortunately, I've got dumbasses running this union right now who are worse than management because I pay them. I don't pay management to treat me like shit. They just do it. But my union, my agent, the ones I pay, are worse than management to me because I pay them to protect me and they sell me out. So which one's worse? And so, yeah, it's kind of a shitty position right now to be a city letter carrier and a rural carrier, you know?
Yeah. And you talk about all the issues going on and look at the SNDC issue we got going on. We have all these carriers getting dragged into these buildings, especially rural carriers who are having to drive an hour each way to their route. Some of them having to take an LLV on a 70-mile-an-hour highway.
Mm.
Things like that, risking their lives because it's efficient, according
Yeah.
to the Delivering for America plan, but it's more cost prohibitive to the Postal Service.
Well,
I mean, the numbers don't add up.
we had no pushback from our union on it. Matter of fact, our president was in support of it,
So was ours.
which was crazy. I know Groskopf from up in Region 3. Up in Buffalo, he was adamant against the S&DCs, and he got it voted down.
And
So
see, I can see the idea for like a city center area and spreading out from there for delivery from the city center and having everything in one spot. But when you get out into suburbs and you get out into rural America, that's where it costs money. You
yeah,
know, if you have a facility actually designed to take care of these situations and make it efficient for the carriers, then it's a good thing. But it's so inefficient and so difficult to control such a large body of people in one location that balloons out of control. Look
Yeah.
at Palmetto. Look at Palmetto. They still haven't cleaned that up. Indianapolis, they're still having problems. Hell, I got carriers out there today who are just now getting their ballots back for the tentative agreement that the box was closed. It took so long for the ballot to get to the box that the box is already closed and it's getting rejected and sent back. So there are votes for or against our tentative agreement that got stuck in the system. It's crazy to think, but that's also hiring, getting people to work in these facilities. People live where they work
Yeah.
for the most part. I'm 5 minutes from my office.
Yeah.
I can walk there if my car breaks down. But these carriers that are being dragged into these SNDCs now have to also make that drive in to the SNDC. And so you're adding an extra hour each way to their day. And if they're a 48K route, they're working 10 hours a day already, plus the 2 hours of driving. That's 12 hours there. When do they have time for their family? When do they have
Yeah.
time if they have time for their family, when do they have time to sleep? There's no full recharge either because you're dreading having to get up and drive all the way into the SNDC every day.
I'm with you, brother. 100%. You sound like us.
That's
So,
because we're dealing with the exact same management, the exact same dumb decisions that don't make financial and responsible decisions.
yeah.
It's, but biggest thing we need to do is we need to focus on what the difference here is. The city craft is important for the Postal Service because not only do we deliver our products, but we are the overflow for everybody else. So even in
Yes.
the cities where FedEx, UPS, Amazon, DHL, all the little carriers have delivery services in that area, we still take on the overflow.
Yeah.
We're still important. Rural carriers are even more important in that chain because we deliver in places UPS, FedEx, Amazon, DHL, even your drop ship companies that have people that drive their own personal vehicles to deliver won't pay people to go out and deliver. They'll drop it to the Postal Service. Why? Because it's not cost effective to them.
Yes.
And so somebody with a business mind is going to turn around and say, well, rural is not cost effective to the Postal Service, so we should get rid of it. No, we are the end of the line for most of the products you sell. We're delivering it for you. We aren't making you money by delivering it. That's on the head end of it. And that's where a lot of business people make a mistake is they look at the numbers of revenue coming in from that division versus revenue going out for it. They're like, oh, that needs to be cut. But what they're not realizing is the head end that the back end here is causing to come into the system. You get what I'm saying?
Well, brother, you got 2 weeks.
Yep.
You
Two
got
weeks
two
till we get
weeks.
there.
Well, I
And
may
it's
have
coming.
you on again. It's important. It's
It's
important that we
important.
have an ally with the rural
It's
care craft with the things that we're going to do when we take over. It's important to me that we have an ally with the rural carriers, that we do sit down together and talk about game plan, workroom floor issues. And so I
hmm
do hope that you win, man. I'm gonna do everything I can to help. I know that rural carriers, you had 14,000 vote for your TA. Y'all got to get some excitement in that craft, brother. Y'all need to get an uprising. Everybody across the country is talking about the city letter care uprising that's going on. You were talking about it earlier. It's
Yep.
unlike anything anybody's seen. And the city letter carrier has stood up and is charging. And so they're running over everything in their path right now, trying to get to this election next year. And because they want change and real change and substantial change. And so y'all need the same thing, man. Y'all need that same passion and fire on y'all's workroom floor. And, I think that you're going to be the one that brings it. And I just hope that the rural carriers can do that, can stand up and say enough is enough with these weak ass leaders. Let's give James Brennan a shot and let's attack this workroom floor together. But
Mhm.
your election is not Friday, but the next. I'll be out of town most of this next week, but let's try to get you back on for one last word. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
All right, my
And
man.
you're completely right on all of this. It's the city carriers, the rural carriers all need to be working together
Yeah.
against hostile and toxic management
Yep.
because at the end of the day, no matter what, we are all in this together.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to see our presidents. The only time you'll see our presidents stand together and hold hands together is against privatization. And I appreciate that. Obviously we need to fight against that, but privatization affects them too, because they're going to lose
Hmm.
their jobs. If you're talking about privatization, their jobs are gone. And so I would love to see them hold hands and stand side by side for us, the toxic working environment, things that affect us, other than
Hmm.
things that affect them as well as like I said, with the privatization. You'll see them run out there and stand up on that, against privatization because they know, hold up our asses in the sling now. But, I want presidents like James Henry, like yourself, that are going to say, hey, we're going to get together and we're going to game plan this workroom floor. We're getting overrun and I'm sick of it. And what can we do to put a stop to it? And that's what we're going to need, brother.
Yeah, it's just, there are hundreds, thousands of workroom floors where city and rural work side by side.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
there are straight city offices, and sure there are just straight rural offices. Like mine's a
Hmm.
straight rural office,
Yeah.
but we have so many offices where we are working side by side under the same management
Yeah.
that we have no choice but to work together on this issue because
Yeah.
it does affect both sides. And even if I were to turn around and say remove that management from overseeing the rural craft, they could still be in that office overseeing the city craft, still
Yeah.
creating a toxic environment for the rural craft.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, brother, I appreciate your friendship, man. We've been talking a long, long time, not just today, but in the past. And
oh yeah,
you are passionate about your people, man. And I appreciate anybody like that, James, that loves their people and wants to, has that passion and that burning inside themselves to make a change. And you're that person. And so, I hope that you win this thing, man. I know it's difficult. And like I said, you got to get your people motivated and get out there and vote. But let's do this again next week some point, and we'll get you on again, see if we can get a couple more votes for you.
sounds good, my man.
Sound
We'll
good?
see you on the next one.
All right, James. Take care, brother. Good talking to you.
You as well.
All right, man. Bye.